She believed he'd walk her down the aisle, until he refused to even call her daughter. This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's about a young woman's search for truth, family, and healing. If you've ever faced heartbreak from those you trusted most, this Reddit family story is for you. For the first 15 years of her life, my daughter called me Dad, without hesitation. Birthday candles, camping trips, Sunday pancakes. I was there for all of it. She clutched my hand on the first day of school, and I kissed her forehead every night before bed. To me, she was mine. I never once thought I had to earn that title, until the day her mother confessed that I wasn't her biological father. I'll never forget the silence that followed those words. She sat across from me, eyes wide, as if her world had suddenly tilted. And in many ways, it had. Her birth father, a man absent for more than a decade, now wanted a place in her life. And though it broke me inside, I didn't stop her. What kind of man would I be if I stood in the way of truth? But it changed her. Slowly, the phone calls became shorter, the visits fewer. When I finally confronted her about drifting away, emotions flared, and she screamed something I still hear in my sleep. "You're not my real dad." That sentence, 7 words, undid everything we'd built. I let her go after that. I figured she'd come back when she was ready. Years passed. I got older, quieter. Then one day, out of nowhere, she called, said she was getting married, said she wanted me to walk her down the aisle. What would you have done? After everything? Because I didn't say yes. And the look in her voice, I felt it. Deep. But here's the thing. Being a parent isn't about DNA. It's about staying, especially when you're no longer wanted. And maybe, just maybe, that's where this story gets more complicated. Because what happened next changed everything again. I didn't answer her message right away. I read it 3 times, every word. She said she missed me, that she knew she'd hurt me, that she didn't mean what she said back then, and maybe that should have been enough. But you see, when someone pushes you away long enough, your heart builds walls, quiet ones made not of anger, but of sadness. I wasn't angry at her. I was tired of being the one who stayed, while someone else got all her curiosity, her effort, her time. She chose him. I never asked her to stop seeing him, but when she did, she stopped seeing me. When her biological father died, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd come back. That grief would bring her home, but it didn't. Months passed, then years, and silence. So when she finally reached out, asking me to walk her down the aisle, I hesitated, not out of pride, but out of pain. How do you hold someone's hand through a new chapter when they closed the last one without you? She says I'm ruining her wedding day, but no one asks how many days of mine she's already broken. Her family says I should forgive, forget, just show up, that she's sorry, that I'm her real dad. But I don't know if showing up now is a sign of love, or just a way to cover up years of absence. And here's the hard truth. I never stopped loving her, but sometimes love also means letting go. Still, part of me wonders, what if this is the last chance I'll ever get to hold her hand again? And if I walk away now, will I regret it for the rest of my life? I sat by the window that night, lights off, just watching the breeze move the old oak in the yard. I kept wondering what I'd say if I saw her again. Would I hold her close? Would I ask her why it took her so long? Or would I just stay quiet, like I've learned to be? Truth is, I miss her laugh. I miss Sunday mornings, when she'd steal the funnies out of the newspaper and read the comic strips aloud. I raised that girl. I taught her to ride a bike. I stayed up all night when she had the flu. I danced with her in the kitchen when she got into college. But when she found out the truth about her biology, she started treating me like a placeholder, like love could be rewritten by a DNA test. What hurt wasn't just her absence, it was how easy she made leaving look. And now she wants me to show up, walk her down the aisle like nothing ever happened. Maybe I'm too old to start pretending, or maybe I'm too old to let another moment slip by. I don't have all the answers, but if you've ever lost someone who was still alive, If you know what it feels like to watch your child drift into a stranger, you'll understand this ache. Sometimes love is quiet, sometimes it's confused, and sometimes it's just unfinished. So I'm asking you, what would you do if you were me? If you're still here, still listening to this old man's story, please comment the number 3, so I know I'm not alone. So I know someone out there still believes these stories matter. It's strange how silence can be louder than shouting. After I told her I wouldn't walk her down the aisle, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd come back. That she'd knock on my door, teary-eyed, and we'd talk. Really talk. Like we used to. But days passed, then weeks, and not a single word. I started second-guessing everything. Maybe I was too hard on her. Maybe I should have said yes and saved the heartache for myself. But then I remember the way she looked at me the day she left, like I was disposable. Like every birthday I stayed up baking cakes, every scraped knee I kissed, every moment I held her close when nightmares came, had been erased in one sentence. "You're not my real dad." That's what she said, and it cut deeper than anything I've ever known. Not even my own father, who left when I was 12, made me feel this small. And I stayed. I stayed when she had nothing. I stayed when her biological father hadn't even seen her first steps. I gave her everything I had, my time, my savings, my heart. And still, it wasn't enough. Now, she wants to hand me a tuxedo and a role to play in front of her guests. Like I'm some actor in a scene she gets to direct. But I'm not a prop. I'm a man. A father. Imperfect, sure, but a father nonetheless. So, tell me, how do you show up for someone who erased you from their story? How do you smile for a photo when your heart's still bleeding from the last time they said you didn't matter? After that final message, I sat in my car and stared at my phone for what felt like hours. His reply wasn't angry. It was worse. It was cold. "I've moved on. You are no longer my daughter." That sentence hit harder than any argument we ever had, and it wasn't said in the heat of the moment. It was deliberate. You know, when you've lived long enough, you learn to recognize when a door truly closes, and that one slammed shut. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept going over the past, birthday parties, school projects, scraped knees, his voice cheering from the sidelines. That man raised me. He brushed my hair, made me soup when I was sick, told me stories to help me fall asleep. And now, he wouldn't even come to my wedding, not even for a moment to walk me down the aisle. Some folks say time heals all wounds, but what if time just deepens the silence? What if love, once broken, doesn't return? I was left with questions I couldn't ask, and a pain I couldn't explain to anyone, not even my fiancé. Because how do you mourn someone who's still alive, just no longer yours? And here's the thing, if you've ever loved a child who wasn't biologically yours, or been loved by someone who didn't have to, you'll understand the ache of that kind of goodbye. The big day came. Flowers were arranged, music queued up, chairs set in neat little rows. People smiled and clinked glasses, complimented my dress, toasted to love. But in every laugh, in every flash of a camera, I kept seeing the one empty space that meant more than all the others combined. I looked towards the back of the aisle more times than I care to admit, half hoping, half dreading that he might still show. But the doors never opened for him. When it was time to walk, I stood alone for a moment. Just me. No arm to hold on to, no familiar voice to whisper, "You've got this, kiddo." It felt wrong, like something sacred had gone missing. My uncle stepped in at the last second, bless him. But I'll be honest, it wasn't the same. The weight of that absence followed me all the way down the aisle and into the vows. You'd think that in a moment of such joy, grief wouldn't have a place, but it did. It quietly slipped in between the laughter and settled into the corners of my heart. And maybe that's what no one tells you about growing up. It's not just about building a life, it's also about carrying the pieces of what's been lost. And on days like that, the weight of both can feel overwhelming. If you've ever smiled through something that broke your heart just a little. Comment number 6. so I know I'm not alone in this. Weeks passed after the wedding, but the silence from him never did. No call, no card, not even a simple message asking how it went. I kept checking my phone like some foolish teenager, hoping his name would light up the screen. I wanted to believe he just needed more time, that maybe he'd seen the photos, or heard how beautiful the day was and felt something stir. But the truth? It's harsher. I think he meant it when he said I was no longer his daughter. There's a specific kind of ache that comes not from what someone says, but from what they never say again. I replayed everything in my head. Our Sunday breakfasts when I was 10, the way he used to tape my school plays, how he called me kiddo, like it was a secret just between us. How do you accept that someone who helped raise you can simply decide you no longer exist? I tried writing him a letter. Pages filled with apologies, explanations, memories. I never sent it. I couldn't bear the thought of him reading it and still choosing silence. That kind of rejection. It carves something out of you that doesn't grow back. And yet, part of me still wonders, if I knocked on his door today, would he open it? Or would he look through the peephole and turn off the light? That's the part that keeps me up sometimes. Time passed. Seasons came and went. My son took his first steps. We bought a little home with creaky floors and blooming lilacs in spring. Life moved on, without him in it. There were days I'd still reach for my phone, especially on Father's Day. Not to call, just to look at his name in my contacts. I never deleted it. I stopped trying to fix what he had no interest in mending. I stopped begging the past to be kinder. And in doing so, something unexpected happened. I began to forgive myself. Not everything broken can be rebuilt. Sometimes, love is lost, not from one moment, but from years of silence, of unspoken hurts, of things said in anger and never taken back. I grieved him the way people grieve the living, quietly, deeply, endlessly. But I also found peace. My children will grow up knowing love that is steady. They'll know that hard conversations don't mean hard endings. They'll know that family is not measured by blood alone, but by presence, patience, and forgiveness. I wish he could have been part of this chapter. I wish he'd chosen to stay. But maybe his absence was the lesson I needed most. You cannot force someone to love you the way you love them, and that's okay. Because in learning how to let him go, I found how to hold myself, whole, worthy, and enough. Time passed. Seasons came and went. My son took his first steps. We bought a little home with creaky floors and blooming lilacs in spring. Life moved on, without him in it. There were days I'd still reach for my phone, especially on Father's Day. Not to call, just to look at his name in my contacts. I never deleted it. I stopped trying to fix what he had no interest in mending. I stopped begging the past to be kinder. And in doing so, something unexpected happened. I began to forgive myself. Not everything broken can be rebuilt. Sometimes, love is lost, not from one moment, but from years of silence, of unspoken hurts, of things said in anger and never taken back. I grieved him the way people grieve the living, quietly, deeply, endlessly. But I also found peace. My children will grow up knowing love that is steady. They'll know that hard conversations don't mean hard endings. They'll know that family is not measured by blood alone, but by presence, patience, and forgiveness. I wish he could have been part of this chapter. I wish he'd chosen to stay. But maybe his absence was the lesson I needed most. You cannot force someone to love you the way you love them, and that's okay. Because in learning how to let him go, I found how to hold myself, whole, worthy, and enough. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let go of those who won't show up for you, even if they raised you. Healing doesn't always come from reconciliation. Sometimes, it comes from choosing to be whole on your own terms. In the end, it wasn't just about a wedding. It was about the longing for a father's love, and the pain of hearing it denied. Sometimes, even those who raise us can be wounded so deeply, they forget how to forgive. But healing doesn't always come from others. It begins with ourselves. If you've ever felt the sting of rejection from family, know this: you are not alone. Love is not always about blood, but about those who show up when it matters. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these Reddit family stories alive.